agenda today because of some people need some time, so I want to make sure that you guys knew ahead of time. Okay, is everybody in agreement with that?
We're good.
Okay, perfect. We're going to start the meeting now. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee. Today is Wednesday, March 3rd. And I just want to say I'm sorry we are starting a little late. But we do have a pretty good agenda for today with some good bills, and we're going to change a little bit of the order in the agenda. So at this time, we're going to start with roll call. Claire, can you please roll call for the meeting?
Senator Calkin?
Here.
Senator Cano?
Here.
Senator DePalma?
Here.
Senator Gallo?
Here.
Senator Paolino?
Here.
Senator Pearson? Senator Quesada?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have 7 members. We have a quorum.
Thank you to our Claire Maria. At this time, I'd like to start our agenda with Senate Bill 209, which is Senator Lawson's bill. And this bill is relating to education, to access to advanced placement course for all students act. Senator Lawson, are you with us today?
Chairwoman.
Welcome to the Education Committee.
Thank you. Can I proceed?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce this bill. As the chair said, this bill would change the definition of an advanced placement class to mean it's a college-level class taught at a high school, and it would expand the access of college credits to students by paying for all students below the poverty level. So funding AP courses have numerous positive effects on students. They would enter college with college credits. In addition to that, they'd have the ability with those college credits to save on tuition. And research shows that students who take these AP classes and the exams are better prepared for college, allows them to, they stay in, they do well. And the funding also provides an important role in closing equity gaps. So as of 2020, 29 states and the District of Columbia have this practice in place, funding the AP exams for students below the poverty level. And I believe this would be great public policy here in Rhode Island, in that our students deserve it. And as a result, we would all benefit from their successes. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any at this point in time.
Thank you, Senator Lawson, for your testimony. Does any member of the committee have any questions for Senator Lawson? I don't see any member of the committee having any questions, but if you want to say for some people that have some testimony, or I understand you have to go to another committee meeting. It's up to you, Senator Lawson. But at this time, I'd like to welcome testimony. We do have 3 people that signed up for this particular bill. I would like to say to members of the public that have signed up that we would like to hear your testimony and welcome what you have to say tonight. And additionally to the people that have signed up for testimony over the phone, we also have received some good testimony in support. At this time, I'd like to call the first witness, which is Paige Clausius-Sparks from the Rhode Island Kids Count, which have stated that she's in support of this bill. Just give me 1 second. We're trying to reach her at this time. So we're ready for the testimony. I believe that we have Paige on the phone. Paige, welcome to the Education Committee. Welcome to the Education Committee, Paige.
Hi, hello, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide testimony today. I'm happy to share that Rhode Island Kids Count would like to voice its support for elements of Senate Bill 209. So Kids Count is the lead convener of the Rhode Island Alliance for College and Career Readiness, and we advocate for legislative changes that are needed to increase college and career readiness and access to address racial, ethnic, and income disparities. And that includes advocating for advanced placement courses, dual concurrent enrollment, and the Rhode Island Promise Scholarship. And so Rhode Island has experienced consistent growth and opportunities for students to take advantage of some really great college and career readiness opportunities, including advanced placement participation. We've seen an increase of 35% of participation, which is wonderful. Although there's been a growth in these opportunities, we still see disparities and gaps in students earning college credits from these opportunities, and we see those disparities based on race, ethnicity, income, special education status, and language status. And so we know that states can help address barriers to those access to the opportunities by ensuring that all students have advanced coursework opportunities. That includes AP courses. And we support this bill, which would require for the General Assembly report to include data related to the number of low-income students who participate in AP courses. We also urge the committee to consider including into the requirements of this report the number of low-income students who actually take the exam. So being in the course is one step, but then taking the exam is the next. And the next step from there is also earning a score high enough that would make students eligible for college credit. So we would love to see that also included into the annual report. I've also included in my written testimony, hopefully you've received it, is a report around equitable access to college and career readiness opportunities that we released last year. That includes a chart of all the really great programs that are currently offered in Rhode Island, and it also divides up by student subgroups, so you can see which programs tend to do the best at addressing equity and where there is room for continued growth. We also urge the committee to also continue to fund advanced placement coursework, but also to continue to fund the Rhode Island Promise Scholarship. We know that this bill also includes a component that would use funding from the Promise Scholarship to fund AP courses. And we just like to urge the committee to continue to commit to both programs because they both serve to increase access to those opportunities that students desperately need. And that concludes my testimony. Thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Paige Clausius-Sparks from Rhode Island Kids Count. I just wanted to open if any member of the committee has any questions today. It seems that nobody has questions for Paige. At this time, thank you, Paige, for your testimony. At this time, I'd like to call our next witness for this testimony would be Dina Johnson from College Board. And she is calling in support of this bill. Dina, are you on the phone?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
How are you? We're ready for your testimony.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You can proceed.
Hi. Thank you so much, Chairman, committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Dina Johnson. I am the Senior Director for State and District Partnerships at the College Board. I'm based in Rhode Island. We really appreciate this legislation and are in support of it because it really helps students, particularly low-income students who are taking advantage of access to rigorous courses through advanced placement and hoping to gain early college credit by taking the respective AP exam. As already has been stated, AP enables academically prepared students to pursue college-level studies while still in high school, and this gives them the opportunity to earn college credit, placement in subsequent coursework, or both, and it really helps them to save time and money on college costs. Research shows that AP students are better prepared for college. They're more likely to enroll in college, stay in college, do well in their classes, and graduate on time in 4 years. Following challenging coursework success on AP exam, as the previous speaker pointed out, really helps students save money on their college tuition and potentially graduate with less student debt over the course of their education. We know that dedicated federal funding for AP exams was discontinued in 2017, and by stepping up to pick up the fees for low-income students, it will really guarantee opportunities. State funding plays such a crucial role in expanding AP opportunities for low-income students. During the College Board's 2020 AP administration, 24% of all domestic AP examinees were low-income students, and they took over 1 million AP exams. And over the last decade, the share of domestic AP exams taken by low-income students increased by more than 3 percentage points over 2010 levels. And that really helps to narrow equity gaps while still growing overall domestic exam volume by 47%. So we're really pleased that Rhode Island is interested in partnering with us to support the state's low-income students. We support this bill because it will invest in these hardworking students who deserve access to the opportunities that AP provides. We estimate that approximately 2,100 low-income students will take 3,600 AP exams in 2022. In May 2020, Rhode Island public and private school students at all income levels took over 9,000 AP exams that resulted in scores of 3 or higher. So if students were able to earn college credit for those exam scores, the potential cost savings for Rhode Island students and their families would be over $12.35 million. Given all we know about the importance of AP, it's critical that all students with the potential to succeed in college-level coursework while in high school can access those opportunities. And as I said before, state funding is really critical to making sure that low-income students have this opportunity just like every other student in Rhode Island, regardless of his or her economic background. Thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Dina, for your testimony. Do we have any members of the committee that have any questions for Dina tonight? Senator Calkin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Dina, for your testimony. I really appreciate it. I'm new to the Education Committee, so I apologize if I'm not aware of what you do at College Board. So I just have a couple of questions regarding that, given that you're being added to this bill. Could you tell me, you are a nonprofit, right? Could you tell me who funds your organization and who makes up, how it works?
Sure. Thank you for your question. We are a nonprofit organization. We are comprised of members. Those members are high schools and colleges and school districts. So we have about 6,000 members that make up our organization. And so our funding comes from membership dues. And then any funds that students pay for AP exam goes back into developing resources. So one of the things that we were able to launch in pilot form first, but last year was AP Classroom. And that actually enabled us to provide digital AP exams last year because all students had access to free resources. We were able to do YouTube videos with teachers to complete the course material because right around this time last year, classes ended in-person instruction. And so all of the money then gets funneled back into resources for kids.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate the information.
Sure. Thank you so much. Does any other member of the committee have questions for Dina? There being none, thank you so much, Dina, for your testimony today. At this time, I'd like to call the last witness, the last person that signed up for testimony today, and that would be Andy Andrade from RIDE. He signs up in support. I'm trying to reach him at this moment. Just want to make sure that you know that we are learning how to maneuver these technologies. So we are trying to reach our next person that signed up for testimony. And we are not being successful. We are getting there. It seems like we are able to get Mr. Andrade on the phone. Mr. Andrade,
Yes,
welcome to the Education
hi.
Committee.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you, Chair. First of all, we absolutely support this legislation and the effort to make AP courses more available. You know, this is really, I think it's a Rhode Island success story. When you look at some of the facts presented by the College Board, it says that the Rhode Island ranks among the top states that have increased the number of students scoring 3 or higher on the exam. And a couple of other facts that I think are interesting, 11.5 increase from 2010 to 2019. And finally, even more importantly, that the achievement is more impressive considering that much of this is from increased participation among low-income students during the same time period from 2010 to 2019. But obviously, we need to do more. Again, we're very supportive of it. A lot of good reasons for that. One of the things that I wanted to check on, I talked to our friends at RISA, the superintendents, to find out if any of the districts paid for the test for free and reduced lunch students, and I was told that almost all do. Having said that, I think it would be a very prudent investment for the state to help out districts and alleviate some of that money that is spent at the local level. It certainly would be a wise investment. Rhode Island students have done very, very well. They're getting greater access, but we need to do more. So the bottom line is we're very, very supportive of it. Part of the legislation talks about data, and we would be more than happy to work with districts to provide that data in the report. So, again, all things in the bill we're very, very much in favor of, and look forward to working with Senator Lawson going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andre. Does any member of the committee have a question for Mr. Andre at this time? That being none, this concludes our testimony for this bill today. I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion made by Senator De Palma. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Second by Senator Paulina and Vice Chairwoman Gallo. Clerk, can you please do roll call?
Senator Kalkin,
Aye.
Senator Canna,
Yes.
Senator De Palma,
Yes.
Senator Gallo,
Yes.
Senator Paulino,
Yes.
Senator Pearson, Senator Quesada,
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 5 results.
Thank you so much, Clerk. We have motion to hold for this study passes. And next item in our agenda is Bill 76 by Senator Gallo, which requires that commencing with the graduating class of 2022 and all subsequent graduating classes thereafter, all high school students attending public schools shall fulfill at least 1/2 credit of course requirements in civic education. Vice Chairwoman Gallo.
Thank you, Chair. Civic education, as everybody knows who's been on this committee, has been a priority of mine for quite a while. It's been several years. And now, especially after this most recent election, it's clear that we need to make sure that we're turning out well-informed citizens, whether it's knowing how the election process works, or why it's important to be involved in your local government. It's crucial that we provide information to these students. Beginning with the class of 2022, this bill would require all high school students to demonstrate proficiency in civics education to graduate, and individual school districts may determine how their students can show that proficiency. This bill does not require a separate civics course or civics exam. Our schools get to choose what works best for their students. It's very loose and it's not constricted at all. I know a lot of times that aspects of civics are integrated into other curriculum already, so it is likely that many of our schools won't have to change anything that they currently teach. That's why I'm comfortable making this a requirement for the class of 2022. Our students are capable of meeting expectations when we set them, and I have every confidence in their ability, and I'm looking forward to making sure that this is passed this year. It's the year. Certainly after this last election, it's the year. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairwoman Gallo. Like you said, this is a bill that have been of your priority for many years, and we really appreciate your leadership when it comes to making sure that civic education is taught in our schools. Certainly, I do believe that we have received a lot of calls to make sure that this is a priority. At this time, I will welcome testimony. There is 2 people that have signed up for this bill, and the first person is Andy Andrade from Ride in support. Mr. Andrade?
Hello? Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Andy Andrade from RIDE, we absolutely support this legislation. As Senator Gallo knows, we've been through this for many years, and I know it's been a priority for her for many years. We served on the Civics Commission. It seemed like a lifetime ago. I have spoken to superintendents, principals, and other teachers over the years. And we do believe that many high schools, as Senator Gallo suggests, do offer civics in high schools, but some do not. And this legislation will emphatically indicate that civics is a vital part of the development of a well-informed citizen. Certainly, it prepares students for opportunities they will encounter throughout college and career, and it includes engagement in their communities. I talked to Senator Gallo today. I want to let everyone know that Commissioner Infante Green believes very strongly that civics education is a critical component to a student's learning, and we're committed to actually formalizing this requirement, which is really, in my view, and I know Senator Gallo will agree, long overdue. We're looking to open this year Rhode Island's high school graduation requirements to include civics education. And we'll be this spring. We'll be talking to key stakeholders to get their ideas. Obviously, including Senator Gallo, and I've invited her to help us to consider options. Her bill 76 calls for demonstration of proficiency in civics with at least a 1/2 credit course, and it also talks about being proficient. You know, perhaps 1/2 credit isn't enough, and perhaps stakeholders have creative other ways to demonstrate proficiency. So the bottom line is, we believe it's important to address this through a process of opening the regulations. And in doing so, one of the keys to doing anything with graduation requirements is notice, both to the students and to the school district, to make sure that they're ready to implement these new regulations and laws. So again, we're going to look this year to open up the regulations, get information on how best to proceed, and then move from there. This would codify civics as a graduation requirement, give plenty of notice for students and the districts, and I'm very excited about it because it's a long time coming, and I applaud Senator Gallo for all her work. I've seen it firsthand. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrade. Does any member of the committee have any questions for Mr. Andrade? Senator Paulino.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Andy. I think that's great that you want to open up the regulations to include this piece of legislation. I also ask you to consider including financial literacy as well. I think that could be another great bill that would benefit our students in Rhode Island.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Senator Paulino. Any other questions? Senator Calkin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. I just had a quick question. I support this bill. I think it's great, especially recently, as you mentioned, with what's going on in our recent elections. But I'm curious as to why there are certain schools that do include it and certain ones that don't. Is there any trend in the ones that don't? Like, are they, is it because they have difficulty due to, like, having more students with foreign language or things like that? Is there any reason around why there aren't more schools that teach civics?
I'll try and answer that question. I think, first of all, I think most do now in some form. I also believe that, remember, we give a lot of flexibility and control locally to how they roll these things out. So it really is a local decision. But again, that's one of the reasons why we want to do this through our high school graduation requirements, so that would make it a little bit more consistent in how it's approached.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator Calkin and Mr. Andrade. Does anybody else have any questions? That being none, we have another person that signed up for testimony, and that's Allison Powell from Generation Citizen. Good afternoon, Allison.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the Senate Committee on Education. Can I start with my testimony?
Please proceed.
Thank you so much. My name is Allison Powell, and I'm speaking on behalf of Generation Citizen, which is a national civic education organization founded in Rhode Island, and we bring Action Civics curriculum to over 2,500 Rhode Island students each year. We support the passage of civics legislation, and we commend Senator Gallo for leading this effort. However, we believe that Senate Bill 76 does not yet include the provisions needed that will lead to a statewide adoption of high-quality civics or address systemic equity gaps. We appreciate that Senator Gallo mentioned that this bill is very loose and not constrictive. However, the loose nature of this bill can actually lead to more inequitable outcomes, as the districts that are wealthiest will be able to provide high-quality civics opportunities for their students, while students from historically underserved districts will be left behind. And this trend has been demonstrated in research studies. Therefore, we recommend adding 3 additional provisions to this bill. The first is the inclusion of a project-based civic learning requirement. Civic education needs to be hands-on so that students can understand how the civics process works. Studies demonstrate that students who complete real-world civic action projects are more likely to develop the skills needed to participate effectively and equitably in our democracy. So we strongly encourage the inclusion of a civic project requirement at the middle or high school level, accompanied by a statewide project-based assessment. Secondly, we advocate for the inclusion of language that would emphasize the importance of teaching a culturally responsive curriculum that reflects the cultural, ethnic, and racial diversity of our states. Civic education should be centering diverse voices and historical perspectives. And this language would align with previous legislation passed in 2019 when the Rhode Island legislature authorized a new round of standards review in several content areas. Finally, we urge members of this committee to include a funding component to this bill. Funding is an absolute necessity following decades of divestment in the subject. As I mentioned earlier, implementing this bill will require a deep investment in professional development and curricular resources for all districts. And in addition, this funding should prioritize resources to schools that serve historically underserved students. The funding piece is essential to ensuring that this bill is implemented equitably. At this time in our nation and state's history, there's great momentum and support for civics education legislation in Rhode Island. In the House, we are aware that a similar bill called the Civic Literacy Act has also gained a great deal of momentum. We support bringing together the strengths of this Senate bill with the strengths of the House Civic Literacy Act. Doing so, we believe, could create transformational change in Rhode Island to ensure equitable outcomes for all young people so that all young people have the education they need to fully participate in our democracy. Thanks so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Powell. I will entertain any questions by committee members at this time. Senator Gallo.
Just a quick note. Thank you for your testimony. There is programs such as Project Citizen and those kind of programs that are now in the schools, but I would argue that they're in the poorer schools and in the more needy neighborhoods. They're not usually in the wealthier neighborhoods. They're purposely, and I know that they're positively in Providence, and they have existed and they continue to exist. I do agree that it would be nice if there could be a fiscal amount connected with this. I don't see extra money around, and it's important that we start implementing it. As far as curriculum, there is curriculum that I know for sure that has been around at least 20 years through the AFT, and it has been updated regularly, and it is readily available. In addition to that, there is also curriculum that's available through the frameworks through RIDE. RIDE has frameworks that already exist, and there is, it's my understanding that there is material available. So as much as I would love to get new curriculum, I'd love to get more funding. At this point, we've waited so long to get it into the schools. I think that we could always amend it going forward and add more to it. But at a bare minimum, I think it's important that we get it into the schools as soon as possible. And I don't want anything holding it up. So I do concur with you. But until we get those resources, I would say that I like what you want, but I don't see it readily available. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Senator Cano, could I quickly reply to Senator Gallo? Thank you so much, Senator Gallo, for your response, and we appreciate your support for what we're advocating for. I just want to briefly mention, in terms of the funding, we would advocate for the creation of a trust fund to be established, but we recognize that the funding could be pursued at a later date or a later year in a future session, so the bill would only have to set up such a trust fund, and such a trust fund could also accept private funding, and as a nonprofit in Rhode Island and nationwide, we are aware of foundations and other private donors who would be willing to support such an effort. Moreover, as a nonprofit operating in several states outside of Rhode Island as well, we've done a lot of research around implementation of such civics legislation. And we're also aware of Project Citizen and other curriculum like it. And it's great that they are being implemented in some schools. But as far as we're aware from our own landscape analysis, very few schools, even in Providence, are using Project Citizen. But we would greatly appreciate the opportunity to share more research about implementation. And we greatly appreciate your support for civic education. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And this concludes our testimony for this bill today.
Madam Chair?
Senator Palma.
Just very quick, I do want to thank Senator Gallo for bringing this again this year. I think we passed this, I don't know how many times. This should be the year to pass it. And as she said, and as others have said, if the 2020 election season didn't teach us that civics are important, then we should never pass this bill ever. If that's not going to be an impetus enough for doing it, we should never do it. So this is the right bill to pass.
Thank you so much, Senator Palma. That is well noted, and that is true. I think that the Senate has made this bill a priority in the past. We have passed it in the Senate. I think that there is some momentum, and we want to say thank you to Senator Gallo. And at this time, based on the feedback that we have today, but also the good priority as policy that it is civic education, I would entertain a motion to pass to the floor.
Motion to pass.
Second.
Senator Gallo make motion to pass, seconded by Senator DePalma. Clerk, can you please do roll call on this?
Senator Calkin? Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Gallo?
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Paulino?
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Pearson? Senator Quesada?
Absolutely, yes.
Senator 70 says yes, too.
Madam Chair, we have 6 in the affirmative.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. I just want to note that Senator 70 is here, and he had recorded his absolutely yes as well for this legislation to pass to the floor. I just want to say also that the absolutely yes for civic education is bipartisan, so I really appreciate everybody's support, and this bill moves to the floor. Thank you all. We'll continue with the agenda. And at this time, based on some changes that we had made to the agenda today, I would like to entertain Senate Bill 211 by Senator Gallo, which is an act relating to education at school committees and superintendents, by Chairwoman Gallo.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. The goal of this bill is to make sure we are emphasizing to our students the advantages of completing schools with marketable skills. It would require K through 12 students to be taught about the kinds of employment opportunities they can have through career and technical education, such as registered apprenticeships. And I'm willing to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Does any member of the committee has any questions by Senator Gallo? That being none, we have only one person that have signed up for testimony for this bill, and that is Steve Osborne from RIDE. And we will look to call him at this time. Give me 1 second. I don't have it. You have 211. Who do we do? Andy? Do we do Andy?
We'll call him back.
Give me 1 second. We're trying to get in touch with him. Mr. Osborne from Bride, are you on the phone? Here we have him. Welcome to the Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm here to speak from RIDE this evening on behalf of for Senate Bill 211, expressing the support of making sure that our students are informed and made aware of different great career experiences, including registered apprenticeship. We look forward to working with the sponsors of the bill to implement this work and make sure every student has those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Does any member of the committee have any questions? Senator Cookin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious, is this something that happens during like counseling, like career counseling, or is it something taught in the classrooms throughout their education?
That's a great question, and it especially connects to one of the bills on the agenda for later. Is we right now have an individualized learning plan requirement, which is right now in RIDE regulation, not in state statute. And schools have conversations about students developing some of their career goals. But we do believe that there's value in terms of making it an implicit requirement in state statute. So those conversations are mandated to happen by the superintendents and the school committees.
Okay, great. And is this an ongoing thing? Like I imagine if you're a kindergartner or whatever, the conversation is a little bit different than when you get to like high school. And I imagine there's probably careers like I know in IT engineering where you might, the career itself actually changes over time. So is that also part of it? That through their education career, the conversation will adapt as needed?
Yep, that's exactly right. And the way that we've been trying to approach this work and have been supporting the field over the last couple of years is making sure that our students have the ability to learn about different careers at different points in their lives. One thing that we've seen pretty consistently is that students don't know about those careers and the high-skill, high-growth opportunities that exist in Rhode Island. You're not going to take those different opportunities. And trying to make sure that those different experiences, especially in areas like IT, computer science, that students are exposed to them and feel confident and comfortable with them as they get older. So we do feel there is ability to have those conversations at younger ages, though that looks radically different, in elementary and middle school than it does, junior and senior year of high school.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Does any other member of the committee have any other question? That being none, that concludes the testimony for this bill today, and I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Motion to hold by Senator DePalma. Do I have a second? Second by Vice Chairwoman Gallo. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Senator Calkin?
Aye.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes. Yes.
Senator Pearson? Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 7 in the affirmative.
Thank you so much. At this time, next item in the agenda, we're going to continue with Senate Bill 212 by Senator Gallo, an act relating to education, regional vocational schools, Title 16, Chapter 97, the Rhode Island Board of Education Act. Vice Chairwoman Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill would require the CTE Board of Trustees to review issues impacting secondary and post-secondary career and technical education, such as programs, the quality, the funding, and it would provide recommendations to the State Board of Education annually. It also allows students to attend a CTE program outside of their community of residence, as long as that program is approved by the CTE Board of Trustees and a duplicate program is not offered in that community where they live. Every year, beginning in January 2022, the CTE Board of Trustees and the Department of Education will publish a list of the duplicate CTE programs in Rhode Island so that students and families can more easily understand the programs available to them. If a student enrolls in a Board of Trustees approved CTE program outside of their district of residence, that district will not be responsible for the transportation costs. The receiving district would provide the cost of transportation for that student if they choose to do so. That was a barrier going in the past. The cost of transporting the students was quite a bit of money, and a lot of the communities were complaining, so that's been changed. But I'm available if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much. Does any member of the committee have any questions at this time? That being known, we only have one person signed up for testimony on this bill today, and that is Mr. Stephen Osborne from RIDE. Mr. Osborne, how are you? We're ready for your testimony. Mr. Osborne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve Osborne from ROD. I'm here to speak in support of Senate Bill 212. In recent years, with the support of both business leaders and labor leaders, ROD and our K-12 leaders have revitalized career and technical education in both our CTE regional centers and our comprehensive high schools throughout the state. The resurgence has been impactful and inspiring to witness and be a part of. Since the creation of the CTE board, we've more than doubled the number of CTE programs in the state, from less than 100 to more than 200. We've more than doubled the number of students who are in CTE programs, now serving more than 14,000. And we've aligned all of our programs to employer-developed standards so our kids can get jobs in Rhode Island after graduation. At RIDE, we've revised these systems we've revised all of our systems to value CTE outcomes equally with college prep outcomes like AP and dual enrollment. And we're seeing nothing but strong results across the board. Senate Bill 212 preserves many of the ingredients have led to this resurgence of CTE, and it also helps ensure the fiscal health of our schools and districts that will allow CTE to continue to grow, expand, and flourish over the long haul, that will provide children and families access to great programs that will help them prepare for high-paying jobs in Rhode Island. We look forward to working with both our business and labor leaders and our K-12 leaders to help develop the policies that will help support the implementation of this bill and ensuring the economic vibrancy of Rhode Island. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to address you, and happy to entertain any questions folks may have.
Thank you so much. Does any member of the committee have any questions for Mr. Osborne? That being known, that concludes our testimony for this bill today, and I will entertain a motion to hold for further study.
Motion to hold, and I just wanted to thank Steve Osborne for all of his input. We really do appreciate working with him and with RIDE.
Motion to hold by Senator Gallo, seconded by Senator DePalma. Clerk, can you call the roll?
Senator Calkin?
Aye.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes?
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Awesome. Madam Chair, we have 8 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Motion to hold has passed. At this time, next item in the agenda is Senate Bill 150 by Senator Picard, an act relating to education, the Rhode Island Board of Education Act. Senator Picard, are you with us today?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Cool. So thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I know this is a bill you've heard many, many years in a row. And basically what it does, it charges the Department of Secondary Education, the overruling body, to come up with an idea to try to help out, set a program where students can test out of doing a the class, if you will, and take another class instead, meaning if they're proficient already. And the one that comes to mind, mainly if some high schools, they have certain criteria that you have to have so many math, so many English, maybe a foreign language. You know, if somebody's already has dual language abilities, why would they have to take a foreign language unless they wanted to, where they could use that time to take something else that they may like, maybe an additional art or additional math, or whatever the case may be. All they have to do is show their proficiency in this certain subject matter, and if they pass this criteria that was set up by this board, they could go on and take something else. I think it would make the school's experience a little bit more engaging for the students who could do something that they want to do. And as an attendance officer, when people are bored with school, they have a tendency not to go to school, and having them engage would make a little bit of attendance a little bit easier to deal with. That's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Picard. Do we have any members of the committee that has any questions for the sponsor? That being known, we only have one person that signed up for testimony, and that is Mr. Andy Andre from RIDE. Mr. Andrade? Mr. Andrade?
Yes.
We are ready for your testimony, Bill 150.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Again, I think as Senator Picard said, this is a bill that we've heard and for many, many years. And I'm just going to say, after all these years, that we support the bill and we like to work with him. We do a lot of things that we believe right now are help students demonstrate proficiency. You know, we have career and tech programs, pathway programs, dual enrollment. We just talked about our AP courses. You know, we have graduation portfolios and student exhibitions. And one of the things I'd like to mention that we and I know hopefully most of you are familiar with the summer programs that we had last summer. And a lot of that was absolutely hands-on experience for kids last summer. Just to give you a couple of examples, they were involved with Roger Williams Zoo, Mystic Aquarium, Providence Children's Museum, Trinity Rep, and I know my friend Joe Pratt at the Boys and Girls Club of Newport had a lot of programs that engaged kids. So we're trying to do as much as we can. As you know, a lot of this is done locally, and so we do give districts flexibility to do some of the things that Senator Picard is hoping to do, but we certainly appreciate his advocacy over the years on this particular issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The members of the committee have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Senator DePalma.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Picard, thanks for bringing this bill back again. And I think you hit the nail exactly on the head. Clearly, with a individual or a high schooler who is bilingual or multilingual, and the requirement of is hard and fast, they need to do that. Just flies in the face of using that time most valuable. And there are stipulations in here with regards to lines 12 through 17 about how that time is used. I think this bill's time has also come for moving forward. I could even think in some areas in the mathematics realm where this could be beneficial as well. So thanks for bringing it forward again. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator DePalma. That concludes our testimony for this bill today. I will entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Senator DePalma moves, seconded by Senator Gallo. Anybody in favor? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Calkin?
Aye.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator Seveny? Senator Seveny?
He said yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 in the affirmative.
Thank you so much. Next item in the agenda is Bill 285 by Senator Gallo, an act to Education Rhode Island to School Transition Act of 1996 by Chairwoman Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Beginning with the students entering the 6th grade in the year 2024-25 school year, this bill would require every student grades 6 through 12, to have an individual career and academic plan. Students and their families would work with school counselors, administrators, and teachers to develop goals, explore academic and employment opportunities after high school, secure financial aid, and ultimately enter the workforce. This bill would require that students update their plan every year in order to graduate from high school. And that just about sums it up.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. Do any member of the committee have any questions at this time? That being known, we only have 2 people signed up for testimony for this bill, and the first person is Hannah Stern from ACLU of Rhode Island. Actually, we just got a communication that she did not answer, so the next person on the list is Stephen Osborne from Ride, in support of the legislation. Mr. Osborne.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. Here to Steve Osborne from RIDE, here to speak in support of Senate Bill 285. We deeply support the need to help support students have individualized learning plans and help them plan out both their post-secondary education and also their career options as they move forward. One piece that we would like to work with the sponsors on as the bill moves forward and potentially upon implementation would be just the effort to align what's identified in Senate Bill 285 with the existing work that we lead at RIDE related to individualized learning plans. There's a lot of overlap and connection between the two, and we would want to work together to make sure that we can align those pieces in a way that helps elevate the great work that's been happening in schools, but also aims to meet the Senator's intent. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to testify.
Thank you so much. Does any member of the committee has any questions at this time? That being none, we want to just state for the record that we have tried to call Hannah Stern from the ACLU of Rhode Island. She hasn't answered to our call. She has stated that she has no position on this bill, and that would conclude our testimony for this bill today. I want to make sure that I reiterate the importance of this bill. Senator Gallo has explained it very well. This bill has been passed by the Senate in the past, and nothing has changed. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to pass to the floor.
So moved.
Senator
Pearson.
Pearson. Okay, thank you. Move the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator DePalma. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Calkin?
I would like to abstain. I want to find out a little bit more about the ACLU objections.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
I'm not certain our rules allow you to abstain.
And it was not they weren't against it.
No,
they did
there
not
was no
have
position. Right, correct. There was no position on the bill as they signed up for it. So.
Okay, so I will say aye then.
Senator Cochran say aye. Okay. Clerk?
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes, and thank you, Senator DePalma, for always knowing all the rules.
I don't know about all of them, but some of them anyway.
Better know 'em.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Casada?
Yes.
Senator Seveny?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 in the affirmative.
So this bill 285 will have moved to the floor. Next item in the agenda is Senate Bill 31 by Senator Seveny.
Madam Chair, if I may, just
Sure, Senator DePalma.
just so everybody's benefit. I know most folks know, but just to what I will say, if you're in committee or on the floor, there's 3 options to vote. It's recuse if there's a conflict. It's a yay or a nay. So I apologize, Senator Cochran. I didn't mean to jump on you, but if we don't follow our rules, then why should anybody follow our rules? So.
We really appreciate that, Senator DePalma. And Senator Cochran, do you want to respond? Yes, sure.
Madam Chair, while we have a pause, can I be recorded in the affirmative? I believe I missed the votes on Bill 76, 209, and 211. and I just like to record in the affirmative on those motions.
That's noted, Senator Pearson. He wants to be recorded in the affirmative in Bill 76, and also you say 211 or the other. Do you want to just be recorded in all of the bills that we voted on today?
That would be appreciated, Madam Chair.
In the affirmative, and that doesn't change the outcome of all the bills, and that is noted. Thank you, Senator Pearson. At this time, next item in the agenda is Bill number 31 by Senator 70, and this is an act relating to education, suicide prevention, the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act. And Senator 70, thank you for your patience today, and welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So I'd just like to start by, I guess, stating the obvious. This bill's genesis comes from tragedy. I think it could be one of the most important pieces of legislation that we passed this year. What it does is require training of teachers, students, school personnel, anybody who comes into contact with one of our school children during the day, and the school children themselves, sixth grader and above, to take annual training in suicide awareness and prevention, and to establish for each school district to establish policy to that end. Whatever we can do to help anyone recognize not just that a particular school kid is having a bad day, but there may be something more there that we can help avert the tragedy that Mr. Flatt will be speaking shortly, and Mr. Bruno, who will be speaking as well, to avoid that kind of circumstance. The tragedy affects everybody in the community. It affects all of us, and I would just like to end and let the testimony begin with all these folks. I just want to say how proud I am of Portsmouth, of the students, the young adults who embraced Nathan Bruno's memory and who he was, and tried to make something good out of that tragedy. They've worked hard. They've worked hard now going on 3 years. And I'm honored that they asked me to move this bill forward and bring us here tonight. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, for the testimony.
Thank you, Senator 70, and I concur with you. I think this bill is very important, and there has been a lot of people supporting for this bill for testimony tonight. I want to make sure that you know that the Senate Education Committee really understands that this is an emotional issue, but it's also a very important issue. So we're going to first ask any members of the committee if you have any questions for the sponsor at this time.
Madam Chair?
Senator DuPalma.
If I may, I want to thank Senator 70 for bringing this back again. This bill's time is due. Not that this bill, from a causation perspective, could this bill have averted what happened? Yeah, it might have. Can we say categorically it would have? No, we can't. But what this bill seeks to do and address, it could have had a big impact. And I think we're going to hear from, none of us want to be a parent of having this happen. But this bill's time is due. And I'll leave it there. The people that are going to speak on this, I don't know who they are. But if it's any semblance of what we had, Senator 70 was in 2019 by the student group. I forgot what the name of the CSU or whatever it was called, from Portsmouth and others. Extremely moving testimony by the group, and thanks for bringing this back again.
Thank you, Senator DuPalma. I concur, and we do have around 15 witnesses signed up for this bill today. We're going to start with our first witness, and that is Flatt, who is the president of the Jason Foundation. He signed up in support, and we are trying to connect with him at this time. Mr. Flatt, how are you today, and welcome to the Education Committee.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for a second.
You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure about it. My name is Clark Flatt. I'm president of the Jason Foundation, or JFI as our friends call us. I just want to bring up a couple of quick statistics before I just say a couple of words about this. Of course, nationally, suicide now is the second leading cause of death for our youth, ages 10 to 24. If you think about that, second most likely thing to take a young person's life in our nation today is suicide, and so something that we know very little about for most of us. In Rhode Island, the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey just showed that 32.3% of the youth in grades 9 through 12, that's almost 1 out of 3, said they had felt sad or hopeless every day in a row for a period of greater than 2 weeks, so it affected their usual activities. That's basically a definition for depression, and depression is the number one leading cause of suicidal ideation, no matter what age group. And in Rhode Island, also, the youth in grades 9 through 12 at 14.7% compared to 8.9% nationally reported having attempted suicide 1 or more times in the past 12 months. And that was in 2019. That's an average of a little bit over 1 out of every 14 students. JFI is one of the nation's oldest and largest nonprofits whose sole mission is for the awareness and prevention of youth and young adult suicide. It was founded in 1997 after the tragic suicide death of my youngest son, Jason, age 16. JFI has literally grown from the kitchen table to one of the organizations leading in the nation for youth suicide and adult suicide prevention. I want to get to what this bill is about. The training of educators not to be counselors, nothing need to be stressed. The training of educators not to be counselors, but to be better able to recognize and respond to a student who may be struggling with thoughts of suicide is recognized by both the CDC and SAMHSA as one of the most important resources in addressing this public health issue of youth suicide and young adult suicide. I personally, and in my professional opinion of 23 plus years of working in this field, I believe that equipping educators with the information, tools, and resources to feel more confident in their ability to recognize and respond to students who may be struggling with mental health issues and suicidal thoughts is the number one action a state can take in addressing suicide prevention. In 2007, when we first passed the Jason Flatt Act in Tennessee, it was one of the most comprehensive regulations addressing teacher in-service professional development for suicide prevention in the nation. The Tennessee Department of Mental Health did a survey in 3 years following the passing of the Jason Flatt Act in 2007, and suicide deaths went down 28+2%. Now, there's many reasons why you should pass this legislation, in my opinion. First of all, teachers in Rhode Island are mandated reporters, and in Rhode Island, by law, they're to report emotional abuse, which can include suicidal ideation and many of those factors. And the question would be, have educators received the training to recognize the sign? But the most important reason is it's the right thing to do. If passing this legislation saves one life, would it be worth it? Before you answer that, if that one life was your son or daughter, your grandson or granddaughter, or the kid next door, would it be worth it? Since 2007, we passed the Jason Flatt Act in 20 states. We've done it all without a fiscal note. There's many young people alive today because of this training. I'd like to keep my comments short and answer any questions that might be held there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Flatt, for your great testimony today. At this time, I'd like to entertain any questions for committee members. That being known, I just want to say thank you so much for your testimony, and it was a very good points that you made today. So the next person that we have signed up for testimony today is Mr. Stephen Peterson from Be Great for Nate, Inc. Mr. Peterson, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for coming to testify in the Education Committee. You can proceed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee members. It's an honor to be able to give verbal testimony tonight in support of S31. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak, and I want to extend a special thank you to the sponsors on this bill, Senator Seveny, Oyer, DePalma, Miller, Coyne, and Goodwin. It feels like it was just yesterday I was meeting with Senator Oyer and Seveny at picnic tables down at Schulte's Snack Shack on hot summer days to begin the discussions of this extremely impactful bill. My name is Stephen Peterson, and I'm the Executive Director of Be Great for Nate, Inc., a nonprofit based in Portsmouth. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Rhode Island. This bill has been crafted over the last several years with input from youth from the Every Student Initiative, a program of Be Great for Nate. We have made sure their voice is strong and empowered in this legislation, and I'm excited for you to hear from a few of the youth that have played a major role in this process tonight. There's 3,041 teenagers attempting suicide every single day in the United States. That's 3,041 across the entire United States, and that's just high school-aged youth. And this is an outdated number. We expect this number to be much higher in the 2020 data, thanks to the pandemic. Over 4,500 youth are dying by suicide every year, and this number is increasing at a steady rate. The most preventable form of death is also the second leading cause of death for young people aged 10 to 24, like Clark just alluded to. I'm failing. You're failing. We're all failing, but we don't have to. We aren't currently doing enough to save our youth, but passing the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act will be a giant step in the right direction. On a daily basis, I hear the pain the youth is going through, their wishes for a life that makes more sense, a sign that there's someone out there that cares about them. And for far too long, we have been failing them. Let's change that. Let's hear their voice. Let's give everyone the tools needed to save lives. We can prevent suicide, but we need to work together to make that happen. This law will save lives. 20 other states have passed a form of this law. At least 9 of them require annual training, just like this one does. This bill isn't asking teachers to do more than they already are. What it does do is provide teachers the knowledge to know when to refer a student to social-emotional support staff. The Department of Education's model policy on suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention will make this process clear for all schools to follow. It is our responsibility to provide the youth with everything they need to succeed. It is our responsibility to listen to them. It is our responsibility to prevent suicide. It is our responsibility to be great for Nate. I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. The data and the testimony today that you provide to us is very, very valuable. And I just say that what it stays with me is that we have to give tools to save lives. So thank you so much. At this time, I definitely like to welcome any member of the committee if they have any questions for Mr. Peterson. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next person in our list is Mr. Rick Bruno, and he has signed up in support of this legislation. Mr. Bruno, welcome to the Education Committee.
Thank you.
Next person in our list is Mr. Rick Bruno, and he has signed up in support of this legislation.
Mr. Bruno, would you be able to turn up your volume down so we will be able to hear you well?
This is Mr. Rick Bruno.
Yes, hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
We are ready for your testimony today.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rick Bruno, and I am speaking in support of the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act, Senate Bill 31. I am a contributor to creating this act as well. 3 years ago, on February 7th, 2018, my only child, Nathan Bruno, died by suicide. It's my belief that my son died in despair and hopelessness due to a situation that could have and should have been handled differently by school staff. The proposed legislation will work towards ensuring that this unfathomable tragedy will never happen again to another student in the state of Rhode Island. When my son died on February 7th, 2018, I had only been notified 1 week earlier about an ongoing issue with school staff that had occurred outside of school, but that had been handled in school since approximately the end of December 2017. The issue involved a coach, school administration, and outside law enforcement. Without my knowledge or involvement, the school held a meeting with Nathan and made educational decisions, including a schedule change. As a direct result of the staff holding meetings with and about Nathan in regards to these out-of-school issues, he was ostracized and bullied without ever having a safety net implemented to ensure and protect his social, emotional well-being. During this period, Nathan received not one check-in from school counselors or socio-emotional support staff. You may ask why. Why didn't he receive any school support from counselors? In which I would respond, he did not receive any support because the socio-emotional supports that should have been available and provided had no knowledge that Nathan was having an issue with other school staff or his peers. The proposed legislation would help ensure that no student will ever be in a similar situation again. The brief overview clearly demonstrates and outlines a dire need to restructure existing regulations, training requirements, and policies about student socio-emotional needs, included but not limited to suicide prevention, intervention, postvention, and clearer language regarding in-school versus out-of-school issues and parental notification guidelines. I have also submitted with my written testimony a portion of the formal investigative report following my son's death, conducted by Attorney Matthew Oliveria to the email outlined in this year's guidelines. Please make note that the investigation was commissioned by the Portsmouth School Committee. In the wake of Nathan's passing, I embarked on a mission to help ensure that other senseless tragedies such as this could be prevented, in turn creating Be Great for Nate, a nonprofit organization focusing on helping and educating the youth in our community. Our mission is to empower youth by providing healthy social-emotional development and support within their communities. And our vision is to prevent youth suicide through education and awareness. Be Great for Nate has and is continuing to make a positive impact on the children in our community. Coupling with the Every Student Initiative, the first program of Be Great for Nate, formed by a group of Nathan's closest friends after his passing. The children now have a safe place to turn and learn more about suicide prevention. Executive Director of Be Great for Nate, Stephen Peterson, who holds a master's in social work from Fordham State University, as well as 4 years of experience providing individual counseling to adolescents in the school setting, office setting, and home setting, created a suicide prevention training for our nonprofit. The training provides statistics about youth suicides in our country to help frame the issue. It then covers risk factors, signs, and red flags of suicidal individuals, all of which are backed by research found across all available training on the topic. It then covers the role of an individual and what to do if you are worried about someone. Stressing, as Flatt did, they are not counselors. Their job is just to help the individual. There are interactive scenarios that participants go through to practice their new skills. Data is collected using a pre- and post-test that adapts measuring instruments used in other suicide prevention training and graded by a licensed technician. Graded tests are scanned and sent to the organization's research director, Samantha Brown, who analyzes all data. Our data has shown that on over 100 Portsmouth youth students that have taken the suicide prevention training, their scores increased by 288% from the pre-test to the post-test, increasing suicide prevention skills. The American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, Rhode Island Chapter, who are corporate sponsors of Be Great for Nate, also support the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act and have submitted a written testimony. To have the support of the Senate as well could help to begin making changes across Rhode Island and help with changes that are already being implemented in some communities. By having a law making these trainings and policies mandated. To see what a small nonprofit without any legal holdings has been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time holds weight to what could be accomplished if we all work together towards a very important life-saving cause. It is my deepest hope that the passing of this act will save the lives of students in this state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bruno. And I just want to say I am very sorry about the situation with your son. It is a tragedy, but what you're doing today is a demonstration that out of what happened, you're really advocating for the next steps to prevent that other lives are not lost. And I really appreciate you taking the time. And at this time, I'd love to have any member of the committee, if you have any questions for Mr. Bruno.
Chairwoman, just a comment. Mr.
Yes.
Bruno and also Mr. Flatt, who spoke earlier, I just want to apologize for the loss of your sons, and I find it incredibly impressive that you have made it through 20 other states to get this legislation passed. So I commend you to coming to Little Rhode Island and doing the same, and I hope you continue your mission on getting this legislation to all 50 states in our union. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paulino, for those comments. Does anybody else have any comment or any questions? Senator Seveny.
Well, thanks, Madam Chair. I would just like to say thanks to Mr. Bruno and to Mr. Flatt, and certainly to Rick in the Be Great for Nate organization, and Stephen Peterson. Thank you for letting me be a part of this initiative. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, and if there's a way to turn tragedy into a victory for other young people, I'm just glad to be a part of it, and I'm glad you were here to speak. So thank you.
I concur with you, Senator Seveny and Senator Paulino. Both Mr. Clark and Mr. Bruno are really brave to be doing this work after unfortunate loss of their son. So thank you so much for the testimony, and we really appreciate it. Senator Seveny, do you have anything to add? I'm sorry, Senator Di Palma? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, thank you to both of them, and it's time this bill gets moved as well.
Thank you so much.
Chair?
Yes, Senator Vice Chairwoman Gallo.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank everyone that came today to testify, because I know it's such a hard loss. And I remember from in the past when everybody was testifying how very sad and devastating it was. So to continue to do this and, live this horror day after day and try to just stop other parents from having to suffer through it, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to present to us and let you know that we really appreciate everything that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Gallo. I think that we all concur of how important this bill is, and the advocacy is definitely well noted, and thank you so much for all you doing to make sure that we change some things to prevent, right? So at this time, we do have our next person to testify, and it is Mr. Eric Ewers, and it is from the Florentine Films and Ken Borgs. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee. Hello?
Hello.
You are ready to testify today?
Yes, ma'am.
We are ready for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. And good evening. It's really a privilege to be able to speak to you tonight. I'm very passionate about this topic, just like Mr. Bruno. My name is Eric Ewers. I am co-director of a national PBS film series on mental health. This film series will be executive produced by Ken Burns. For the past 30 years, I have worked with Ken on nearly all of his films. I like to joke ever since the Civil War. And I must say, never have I made a film so important and so now. I am speaking not only for myself, but on behalf of Ken Burns and co-director and brother Christopher Lauren Ewers. And we are together in support of S31. In 2018, PBS asked Ken and I and my brother to create a contemporary film on youth mental health. We had to ponder this and figure out what kind of approach we wanted to do. And we decided that the goal of our first film, which is the first of 3 over 10 years, is to normalize and destigmatize mental health, or mental illness, I should say, and to do so by giving our nation's youth a true voice, an opportunity to be heard, actually heard on the topic. After all, they are experts in their own experience. A year and a half into the project right now, more than 30 interviews in. Interviews of youngsters ages from 11 to 25 years old, collectively have proven the power of that voice. They are, in fact, testifying for our audience, and they're doing so with honesty, with integrity, and with passion. In conducting these interviews, and we are now in the post-production or editing process of putting together this film, we've discovered a remarkable thing, that in all of the hardship and endurance, the things that these so-called children have gone through, they come out better people. They come out stronger people. They also become engaged with others. And in this case, engaged with their own political system. So I think you can assume that we did, in fact, interview many kids from the Portsmouth, Rhode Island school system. And I must say that they embody every aspect of our film's goal. As Stephen Peterson, who is also in the film, told us on camera, I have had students come to me about their suicidal thoughts over 200 times since Nathan's passing. Mental illness is the only disease, if you think about it, that can be improved, if not cured or prevented, by the simple act of talking. In the shadow of Nate's death, these students have been empowered to talk about their own struggles. And they do so with those they have learned to trust, including, and most importantly, each other. And if that were not enough, after realizing that their own adult educators were not prepared to deal with the crisis, these children have come together to create the Every Student Initiative, a mental health educational program designed to inform other students about the warning signs of mental illness and to teach them how to intervene in a positive and influential way. Now they are coming to you with a carefully thought out bill for the state of Rhode Island, the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act. On behalf of Ken and my brother Chris, we urge you to engage with these kids, so-called kids, and work towards making this law a reality. By bringing your expertise to the table, you will not only be helping communities better deal with adolescent mental illness, you will also be sending a message to the young people of Rhode Island and beyond that there is power in speaking out and engaging in their political system. We encourage you to work with them, to collaborate, and ensure that their voices are heard. In the years to come, we all know that COVID-19 is only going to wreak havoc on the mental health of all of our children. We also know that suicide rates are steadily climbing in the present. So please, take a proactive stance to prevent what happened to Nathan from happening again in your communities. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you so much for taking the time and for giving us such a powerful testimony today. I believe that what you said is very true. We need to be proactive, and we need to make sure that we prioritize mental illness, and that can be improved by just like you said, talking, and the need to make sure that we can express ourselves with others. And I'm glad that you highlight the Every Student Initiative because I think it's very important, and it could be a very positive, influential way of doing so. At this time, I'd like to open any questions for any or comments from any members of the committee. Mr. Irwin, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very
Senator
much.
DePalma, do you have a comment? No. Okay. Thank you so much, and we hope to see that documentary soon.
Spring of 2022.
Great to know. That's good.
All right.
Perfect. At this time, I'd like to welcome to give the testimony to Francine Roy from Be Great for Nate in support of this legislation. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee. Hello.
Oh, hi. This is Fran Roy.
How are you today?
Hi. Thank you, Madam Chairperson and the committee members. I know you have a lot of people to get through, so I will try to be brief. My name is Fran Roy. I am on the board for Be Great for Nate. I'm also a mom of 2 young adult sons that have gone through the Portsmouth Public Schools, the youngest of which lost his dear friend to Nathan Bruno. I also come to you today as a lifelong educator. I was a teacher, a University of Rhode Island professor, an assistant superintendent of schools, and now I work with chronically underperforming schools in Massachusetts and urban districts. And it is really from all those perspectives, as a mom, as a lifelong educator, that I advocate for this bill. I'm going to make 3 quick points. The first being that what is happening now in the pandemic has simply exposed the fragility of students' social, emotional, and mental health issues. What we know since the pandemic has hit, there's been a 24% increase in emergency room mental health visits for children and 31% for adolescents. Rhode Island as well has not been spared, as in a recent Providence Journal article. Dr. Brian Alverson describes a massive pandemic of mentally ill adolescents. We just simply can't ignore this. Just as the pandemic has given us many lessons to learn as far as inequities in healthcare communities, so too has this pandemic taught us the importance of recognizing the fragility of the social, emotional, and mental health of our youngest children. The second point that I want to make is that if we are truly going to be proactive with this issue, it has to go to the teachers and the educators. They are our frontline workers of our children, right? We send them to school every day. The educators spend more time with our kids sometimes than we do, and they need that information. They need to be armed with the information to support children. To not do that is really doing a disservice to our educators, and quite frankly, it's dismissive. We understand, I think any of us in education understand the power of that teacher-student relationship. Teachers and that relationship can make or break a kid, and we have the obligation to arm our educators with the knowledge that they need to act, to recognize the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and suicide, and then know what to do next. It wouldn't be fair otherwise. The last point that I really want to highlight is that we need to act now because of the urgency. We're about to reopen schools. We're bringing kids back with all kinds of issues. I know there's lots of conversation in the education field right now about learning loss, but you cannot address learning loss until all kids are healthy, both physically and socially and emotionally. There's also funding available, right? So my understanding is that Rhode Island, that RIDE is receiving more than $184 million in emergency relief funds for the federal government. And yes, you can use those funds to do a startup or a social emotional program. So in short, my goal here is to recognize the urgency, to recognize that the educators need to be that proactive, collective way to get this work done. And let's get this work done before we lose one more child to suicide. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony today. I think that we heard you very well, not only as a mom, but as an educator. And one thing that stands out to me personally is the relationship that you explained so well between a teacher and a student, and the bond that could definitely have an impact for the future. So I think that it is important to recognize what you said. It's good to be proactive. And at this time, I'd like to welcome any comment or questions from any members of the committee. I don't see anybody. I just want to say once again, thank you so much for taking your time to come and testify in front of the Senate Education Committee today.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Colin Cord from Every Student Initiative. Colin, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you? And welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Hi. Hi, I just wanted to, first of all, thank you, Chairwoman Cano and the committee for allowing me to represent S31 and be great for Nate here tonight. My name is Colin Cord, and I'm a former policy director and founding member of the Every Student Initiative, one of the founding members. I also consider Nathan to be a very close friend of mine. I graduated from Portsmouth High School, and I'm a student at the Community College of Rhode Island. The global pandemic that is COVID-19 is plaguing the country, even the world, with not just this disease, but also a common widespread feeling of emotional distress. Due to the extensive isolation, along with other mandates causing people, teens and students especially, to change the way they go about their lives completely. As we hopefully prepare to begin transitioning back to a semi-normal COVID-free life, mental health in all people will be different than it ever has been. The changes that S31 would bring about in Rhode Island school systems can assure that students can properly get the help and attention to their mental health needs. Just as any physical ailment, whether it be a broken arm or something like the coronavirus, all people should have the opportunity in any situation to get proper treatment and support, especially in an environment such as a school. When it comes to a subject so dangerous and common as suicide, prevention and preparedness are the only ways to bring a stop to the youth suicide epidemic. Whether this past year happened the way it did with this pandemic or not, mental health is an increasingly worrying problem, a whole other pandemic of its own, if you may, that has gone untreated for far too long. I personally have been working on several programs on suicide prevention in this group for over 3 years now, and also worked in the Ken Burns documentary that Eric talked about earlier. And I agree that changes must be made, lives can be saved and changed forever, and where mental distress is inevitable, proper support is a necessity.
Thank you so much, Colin, for taking the time to testify today in this important issue. I think that you said it well. COVID-19 definitely has brought a lot of emotional distress. And I think like the common message that we heard today is that the time needs to be now. I would like to welcome any members of the committee for any comments or questions. I don't see anybody. I just want to say thank you again for your testimony today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chairwoman.
At this time, I'd like to call our next person in that signed up today. It's Rachel Davis Sutter from, she's calling for herself in regards to education, in support of the bill. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Hello, Senator Cano and members of the Education Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Rachel Sauter, and I am a lifelong friend of Nathan Bruno's father, Rick. I think it goes without saying that Rick is a wonderful a wonderfully devoted and loving father, along with being an outstanding human being. I fully support the Nathan Bruno and the Jason Flatt Act. I'm speaking to you tonight through the lens of an experienced teacher, a mother of 2 young girls, and the aunt of a Portsmouth High School senior. I have been teaching for 20 years, and throughout my career, I have seen a significant increase in the social and emotional needs of students within the public school setting. Unfortunately, I have seen too many of these needs left unsupported. Very shortly, actually days after Nathan's death, I held a meeting with my students and asked them how many of them felt that they had an adult that they could talk to and confide in if they were feeling depressed, bullied, sad, or alone. 3 out of 21 students reported having an adult that they could turn to. That is 18 that did not. Throughout my career, I have spent ample time attending professional development and meetings focused on academic data, including test score analysis and curriculum examination. Since 2001, I have only attended 1 required training centered around students' mental health. So that's 1 training in 20 years. This is after being a teacher who asks her administrators to please bring this type of training to our district and our educators. As educators, we are missing a critical component in our training, how to support students socially and emotionally, not just academically. This generation is experiencing more risk factors related to suicide than ever before. Most recently, the social isolation brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our educational system is failing children by not currently having mandatory training in place, such as those included in the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act. The World Health Organization recently reported that a person dies by suicide every 40 seconds somewhere in the world. That means over 800,000 people die by suicide every year. As educators, we're responsible for meeting the needs of the whole child, and it is essential that we put policies and procedures in place to protect our youth. Tonight, I ask you to support Senate Bill 31. This law is important because it will help to prevent suicides here in Rhode Island. Now is the time to step forward and take action to end the suicide epidemic that plagues our country. The loss of Nathan Bruno in February 2018 has shown that teen suicide can affect any family and any child. It is on us as adults to put protocols and trainings in place that will help to save lives. According to the CDC, there are 3,041 suicide attempts of high school teens in this country every day. This is not an issue that can go unchecked any longer. No one should have to endure the pain that all of Nathan's friends and family have gone through these past years. Many students spend more time at school than they do at home in today's world, so we must ensure that all school staff are properly trained on how to save lives. I ask that you please consider supporting Senate Bill 31 so that our state can help to stop suicide. Thank you very much for this consideration.
Thank you so much for taking the time to actually testify today in this important bill. Like you did say and stated very well, nobody has to any longer endure the pain that these families have and their close families, friends and families around, the loss of these 2 young adults is definitely a tragedy, and we need to make sure that we put those protocols in place, just like you said. Any member of the committee have any comments or questions for this testimony? That being none, we just want to say thank you again for your testimony, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
At this time, I'd like to call Tim Ryan from the Rhode Island School Superintendents Association. Mr. Ryan, how are you today?
Fine, Chair Cano. Am I all set?
Yes, you're welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Thank you very much, Chair Cano, members of the Senate Education Committee. My name is Tim Ryan, and I'm with the Rhode Island School Superintendents Association. First of all, I'd really like to thank all the people who've testified and Senator Savini for his sponsoring this bill. but particularly Mr. Flatt and Mr. Bruno. As a father and a grandfather, I just can't imagine their loss, and I'm truly sorry for what you've gone through. And on a personal level, I'm the former principal of Portsmouth Middle School and former superintendent of Portsmouth, so this loss is very personal because these are, one of our kids suffered through this, and it's just a devastating situation. So how can we make it better? Superintendent Association support this bill. As has been said previously, our kids, it's, looking back from when I was a kid decades and decades ago, it's so much more difficult and challenging for what kids experience today. And this has been compounded by the isolation of the pandemic. Distance learning absolutely can't replace the personal connections kids have with each other, with their adults in the school community. And we need to know the signs of depression and potential suicide to intervene and help and save our kids. It's been mentioned previously that there are federal funds coming down, that we are absolutely going to use a lot of that to deal with social and emotional education, particularly as our kids to not only look at the learning gaps, but also the social and emotional gaps that have certainly occurred during this time. I'm very encouraged to know that the Flatt Foundation has materials that are used in other states. We certainly want to look at that and work with Department of Ed and the Department of Health. Everyone has a role to play here, parents, teachers, school administrators. And as superintendents, we're in the middle to make this happen and to make sure our kids are safe. So I want to thank everyone who's testified. I think this is a powerful bill, and we certainly support and will do anything we can to make this effectively implemented. And I want to thank again Senator Seveny on the Senate side and Representative Corcoran on the House side for their support of this bill. And any further questions I'd be happy to answer, but thank you very much, Chair, for your leadership and oversight of this testimony.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ryan. Your testimony is very well taken, and you mentioned it well. I think that it is important for us to recognize that there are signs that our youth cannot present, and we need to be able to prevent that signs goes into a tragedy, just like it has happened in the past. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions from any committee member for Mr. Ryan. That being none, I just want to say thank you so much once again. And at this time, I'd like to call our next person that signed up to testify today, which is Anna Kohini. Welcome to the Education Committee.
Hi.
We are ready for your testimony.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start off by thanking Chairwoman Cano and the community members. I want to start off by thanking you for hearing my testimony tonight. I, like many others, am here to tell you I strongly support S31, the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act. My name is Anna Canini. I am on the policy team for the Every Student Initiative, a program of Be Great for Nate. My life has not always been easy. I have faced a lot of struggles that are not easy to cope with as a teenager. But I have been lucky to have an amazing support system. Not everyone is as lucky as I have been. And sometimes, even with an amazing support system, it can be difficult. Being a teen is not easy in today's world. Society pulls us in so many different directions, and expectations are high, even from a young age. Suicide rates are rising. Diagnosed depression and anxiety are rapidly going up. We must take action, and by passing this law, we can and will save lives. I've been through the training Be Great for Nate offers, and I know that since it's begun, over 70 wellness check calls have been made thanks to the youth identifying signs they have seen in their peers. Listen to me. Listen to the youth. We are struggling, and we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I would like to say to you that we hear you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us how the youth field and the amount of difficult experiences that you have to endure. And obviously, you mentioned it very well. There is a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure, and it is important to have that support system that you did tell us about. So I think that I just want to say thank you. Thank you for making sure that you advocate for the issue that is very important, and we really appreciate your testimony today. At this time, I'd like to call any members of the committee for any comment or questions for Anna.
Thank you so much.
That being done, thank you so much for your time, and we will like to welcome our next person that has signed up for testimony today, and that is Daniel Wardenberg, and it is he's a doctor from the Newport Mental Health. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee today.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name's Dr. Dan Wardenberg. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been in the field for about 40 years now, but for the past almost year, I have been directing the Zero Suicide Project for Newport Mental Health. And I just wanted to add a few things to the really powerful and eloquent testimony that you've all heard already. So, Zero Suicide is basically an accumulation of the best practices in the field. And over the past several decades, there's been extensive research, and we really have gotten much better at learning how to identify and prevent suicide. So my point is, there is actually treatment and prevention available if people are recognized and they can access the system. The Zero Suicide approach has several elements to it, but I want to highlight just two of them that I think are particularly relevant to the bill here. So one is this idea of identifying people, because I think many of our speakers have spoken to the fact that there are people out there who are suffering who are not identified. And, why is that? So being able to trust adults to talk to them is one. But the other factor in that, and this is the other sort of zero suicide factor, is that the people, the professionals have to feel competent and confident in their skills to be able to talk to people about it. And I think for the most part, without this training, people do not feel that. Even within our agency, which is a mental health agency with seasoned clinicians, when people are faced with potential suicidality, they don't necessarily feel competent. And this training is essential for people to, number one, know how to ask the questions, because it can make all the difference. Present in an accessible way so people will feel comfortable talking to them, and then know what to do when, in fact, somebody identifies themselves as potentially suicidal. We've been working to build that network in Newport County, but this training and bringing it into the school and increasing the comfort level, not only of the students, but also all the professionals and paraprofessionals that work in the school, is absolutely essential. And if we can do it, we can actually identify people, get them into treatment, because the treatment works. Where full zero suicide implementations have taken place, there's been roughly 70 to 80% reductions in suicide. So it can work. There's a technology out there. We just have to make it available to people. Okay. So I'm going to stop there because, again, people have been so eloquent and passionate. There's not that much for me to add, but I do want to say, just from the professional mental health perspective, we are there and we are ready. We just need to get people more aware. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think your perspective is definitely very well taken tonight, especially in the subject that you mentioned in training and how it could go a long way. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with the committee and for your testimony. At this time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions from any member of the committee. I don't think I see anybody, but I just want to once again say thank you for your testimony today and for taking the time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
At this time, I'd like to call the next person that had signed up to testify today, and that is Rebecca Elwell. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
Hello, this is Rebecca Elwell?
Yes. We are ready for your testimony today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman and members of the Education Committee. My name is Rebecca Elwell, and I am the Director of Strategic Prevention Partnerships based in Newport County. I have a master's degree in educational psychology and 20 years of experience in the community prevention as an advanced certified prevention specialist. The Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act is dear to my heart, having been impacted by the suicide deaths of many young people through my professional life. Each of those losses may have been avoided through earlier intervention. One of the most common myths or misperceptions that people have about suicide is that by talking about it, the likelihood of a suicide attempt may be increased. The truth is that giving people the opportunity to talk about these thoughts provides opportunities to communicate fears and express pain without resorting to self-destructive behavior. It is widely believed that for every death by suicide, there are 30 attempts. Social emotional support is the strongest factor associated with decreased risk of suicide. Newport County has the highest suicide rate in Rhode Island and is far higher than the national rate. Although educators and school personnel spend their time supporting the academic advancement of youth and nurturing their well-being, they are not specifically trained in mental health. A standardized curriculum in suicide and mental health is critical, yet severely lacking in our public schools. As you've heard from other testimony, COVID-19 has exacerbated mental health issues for youth. COVID-19 has not only stolen critical teenage milestones, but potentially teenage lives. I think that in the next years to come, we will see research bear out the fact that not only has mental health, depression, anxiety increased, but the suicide rate has also dramatically increased during and as a result of the pandemic. Quoting a recent Providence Journal article titled COVID-19 Taking a Toll, Dr. Brian Alverson, director of the Division of Pediatric Hospital at Hasbro Children's Hospital and professor of pediatrics at Alpert School of Medicine at Brown, states that he has witnessed what he describes as a massive pandemic of mentally ill adolescents. He went on to say in the article that on a recent Friday, he looked at the census of the hospital, and 3/4 of the hospital was adolescents who wanted to hurt themselves because of mental illness. I oversee a program in Newport County called the No Wrong Door Initiative. In Newport County, as in most places across the state, most kids are walking through the doors of schools. No Wrong Door in Newport County is specifically geared toward supporting people who are seeking mental health or behavioral health treatment for mental health issues or substance abuse, and it makes sure that people get to the right place for the services that they require. Our youth don't have the luxury of picking and choosing mental health supports, but they do have the opportunity to connect with every teacher or school personnel that they encounter in their safe place, which is their schools. Mental health and substance use and suicide prevention needs are more dire at this time than ever. I urge your support of this bill. This is literally an opportunity to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony today. And like you stated, you have a lot of experience in, education and psychology. And I think that you say something very well in terms of early intervention that could avoid the loss of life. And we really appreciate your testimony today. This time, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions by any member of the committee.
Madam Chair?
Senator DePalma.
I just want to thank Rebecca for being here and thank her for all she does for the community, for the county, and for the state. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that being no more questions, I'd like to move with the testimony for today. And at this time, I'd like to call Andy Andrade from RIDE that is calling in support of the legislation. Mr. Andrade.
Yes. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you, Chair. This is Andy Andrade from RIDE. Very much supportive of this legislation and very happy to collaborate with other agencies and stakeholders that are named in the bill. I first want to thank Senator Seveny for his dedication and also Rep. Cordovan on the House side. Myself and Tim Ryan from RISA have both worked with them and members from Portsmouth to make this happen. I definitely think this is the year that this bill passes, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. I talked to Senator Seveny today. One thing I would request in terms of just a small change, if you look at line 8 on page 1, it talks about rules and regulations. We just request, rather than having it say rules and regulations, we change that to guidelines and procedures. It would just make it a lot easier, and we could expedite the process. I've had conversations with peers at the Department of Health and at BHDDH on our role to develop approved materials, training materials, that'll be evaluated every 3 years. And one of the things I know we're going to do is make sure that these materials are prominently displayed on our website, and we encourage other districts as they develop these materials to put them on their website prominently as well. And we will certainly adopt a model policy to work with other advocates. The bottom line is we're going to work to make this bill as effective and as impactful as possible. One other thing I would like to mention is that a couple of years ago, we advocated for some extra mental health professionals in the schools. And there actually was money that was in the budget for the state to pay half of the salary of mental health professionals in schools. And I can't think of anything that's more timely than that. That would certainly help in this effort. The budget article also allocated almost $600,000 to provide mental health and behavioral health training and materials for teachers. And I thought those together could be very, very impactful. So again, I want to thank Senator Seveny. I particularly want to thank Mr. Bruno and Mr. Flatt for your courage. I cannot imagine the pain that you have been through, and your courage and what you're doing for the memories of your sons is incredible, and we really appreciate it. And we're going to do everything we can to make this happen this year and have a bill that will be impactful and effective and save kids' lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrade. Your testimony is well noted, and glad that you and RIDE are in support of this so needed legislation. I noted your change in suggestion language, but I obviously defer this to the sponsor when it's time. Thank you so much. I have, if any committee members have any questions or comments for Mr. Andre, I would entertain it now. That being none, thank you, Mr. Andre.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to welcome our next witness that signed up for testimony today, and that is Robert Harrison from the Washington County Zero Suicide Program. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee today.
Thank you. I just wanted to make the point that from a brief looking at the bill, I didn't see anywhere that there's any funding that's applied to the Department of Education to get these things done. Unfunded mandates are famous for just adding layers of obligation on the school system, but no funds whatsoever to provide them the means to do it. I think people need to take another hard look at this. I have a good friend who's been a teacher for 27 years. He said, never once in my 27 years have I been told, you don't have to do this anymore. He's always being told, you have to do this in addition to everything else you're doing. And teachers are being burned out. I'm not a teacher, but I know that it's a huge burden on them. I'm very much in favor of the idea of suicide prevention training, and I am a suicide prevention trainer myself. But you have to also think about how is the school going to get this done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harrison. Your concern is well taken, and we understand that many of the other people that have testified today have also, stated that funds could be appropriated to this important legislation, and not only with the COVID-19 emergency relief funds that we get in, but I think that we're going to definitely take a look of things to make sure that your concern is well taken. Any members of the committee have any questions or comments at this time? That being known, thank you, Mr. Harrison, and have a great night.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the next person to testify, and that is Shay Rerick. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
We ready for your testimony today?
Yes, I'm all good.
You can proceed.
First off, to Madam Chairwoman and the committee members, I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight in support of the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act. My name's Shay Rerick, and I'm the Policy Director for the Ever Student Initiative program of Be Great for Nate. I'm also a senior at the Portsmouth High School. This past year has been a strange and difficult one for a lot of us. It was especially difficult for the youth. So many of us have been forced into isolation because of the pandemic, and the emotional damage it has left has strongly been felt. That's why it's so important that this law passes now, because school staff and students need this information. Passing this law has the potential to save lives, so how could we possibly say no? I've been through the Be Great for Nate suicide prevention training, and we would like to invite this committee to attend one in the future. I know that this training saves lives, and it opened my eyes up a lot to the signs of a struggling peer and how to get them help. So please listen to the youth. We need this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shay, for taking the time to speaking with us today. And I do know as a senior, it has been difficult with the pandemic and the emotional stress that youth have had. So we really appreciate your perspective and especially your advocacy for this important legislation. So thank you so much. And again, and also thank you for the invitation. I think that it is important that we know that this training is in place. So thank you so much. Any members of the committee have any comments or questions for Shay? That being known, I just want to say thank you once again.
All right, thank you.
And next person in the list that we have to testify today is Tatum Horley. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. Welcome to the Education Committee.
Hi.
You are ready to testify today?
And this is the Nathan Bruno and Jason Flatt Act, right?
Yes, we are having the testimony today, yes.
Okay, yeah.
We are welcoming your testimony now.
Okay, so I personally believe that this act is not only something we need, but it's crucial for the way society is built today. I know so many people that have struggled with things like Nathan and Jason, but little is done, and as much as people try, you can only do so much. And so by passing this act, you'll be able to spread this awareness and give equal opportunity to everyone that needs help. And I think it's very crucial because it's like lives are being saved. And that's it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to let us know how crucial this legislation it is to you and many of the advocates that have taken the time to talk to us about this bill. You are the last member that have signed up for this legislation tonight. But before you hang up, I would like to welcome if any member of the committee have any questions or comments at this time. That being known, I just want to say once again, thank you for taking the time to speaking to us today.
Thank you so much.
At this time, I'd like to say that this concludes the testimony for this bill, but we also have received written testimony and support. And as we have heard from many of the people that called tonight, this is not only an emotional and very hard issue that came out of a very sad two tragedies that we are, hearing about tonight, and it has been heard in the past. I want to thank the sponsor of the bill, Senator 70, and all the people that came to the Education Committee to testify on this important bill. I'd like to entertain any comments of the committee at this time. If you have any questions or comments, I'd like to entertain it now. That being known, I would like to entertain a motion to hold based on the new information that we did have in terms of some changes and also some questions about some funds that could go with this legislation. So motion to hold is in order.
I move to hold, Madam Chair.
Senator 70 is moving to hold this legislation. Do I have a second? Second by Senator DePalma and by Chairwoman Gallo and Quesada. Clerk, can you call the vote, please?
Senator Calkin?
Aye.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator 70?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 in the affirmative.
Thank you so much, Clerk. And I just want to make sure to reiterate the importance of this bill to the people that have called, testified, and we will be working very diligently to make sure that we probably hear this bill again this year in this committee. At this time, our last item in the agenda, but not least, is the Senate Bill 210 by Senator Flatt, an act related to education curriculum, which requires the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation, to make educational resources available regarding litter prevention and recycling awareness to elementary school students. Senator Flatt, are you with us today? We cannot hear you. Now we can.
No.
Now we can. Welcome to the Senate Education Committee.
It's a pleasure to be before the Educational Committee. It's difficult following the emotional testimony on the previous bill. My particular piece of legislation was warranted from a constituent who was concerned about the littering problem that he saw on our roads, on our beaches, in our parks. And the more I thought about it, I thought about the old song by Crosby, Stills, and Nash that says, "Teach your children well." So I hope with this piece of legislation that we can teach our children the importance not only of litter, but the importance of protecting our environment and recycling, and the importance of recycling. And so I'm looking at a collaborative effort here between the Department of Education and the Resource Recovery Corporation, where I believe they'd be able to provide the materials necessary for our elementary students. The legislation talks about a course but really, I'm thinking of like a yearly presentation on litter prevention and, more importantly, recycling awareness, which could be all tied into a sort of protecting our environment type of presentation. Because we could have this presentation in the spring, which coincides with our annual spring cleanup week that most communities have. And it would address a number of things. It would address our litter problem, as I mentioned before, while protecting our environment. And more importantly, it could address our recycling, because as we teach our young children, they would follow through towards their parents and other adults to indicate the importance of recycling. Each of us are duly aware of our individual towns and the tipping fees that we pay for the landfill based on the fact that we're not recycling enough things or not educating our adults enough to the importance of the recycling program. And so by teaching our children on a yearly basis or giving that presentation, I believe it would be merits for us. It would save our environment and save our recycling programs. So it's a win-win situation here. And that's basically the crux of the bill.
Thank you so much, Senator Flatt. I do believe, like you said, collaboration is always very important, and you have called collaboration from the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation and also the to make educational resources available for that litter prevention. So thank you so much for that. Do we have any questions? Senator Calkin.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Not really questions, more of a comment. Just wanted to thank you for putting in this piece of legislation. As somebody who has a husband that goes out all year long to pick up trash, you'd be amazed at some of the things that he finds. He'll send me pictures, and I think a lot of, kids, sometimes they think, oh, I'm just going to throw this out and somebody will pick it up. But, he'll come across things 40, 50 years sitting there. And I think it's important for kids to know, what impact that has on the environment. And if we can help get them to recycle more, I think it's great. So thank you.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And like you say, we have an individual within our community that's retired and goes out every day and picks up litter as part of his exercise program. But more importantly, trying to keep our roads clean within the town of Warren. And like I said, each community has their own spring cleanup week that sometimes even extends into the fall and whatever. But it's important to teach our children the importance of protecting our environment. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Flatt, and Senator Calkin. Is certainly important to make sure that we bring awareness to recycling and the litter that we have. So at this time, I'd like to ask if any other member of the committee has any questions or comments for Senator Flatt. And I just want to note that no one has signed up for testimony today other than written testimony for this legislation, and a motion to hold is in place. Moved by Senator DePalma.
Second.
Second by Senator Quesada.
I almost made the motion, Madam Chairwoman, but I'm not a member.
It was Senator DePalma, right?
Yes.
I am so sorry. Motion by Senator DePalma, seconded by Senator Quesada. Claire, can you call the roll?
Senator Calkin?
Aye.
Senator Cano?
Yes.
Senator DePalma?
Yes.
Senator Gallo?
Yes.
Senator Paulino?
Yes.
Senator Pearson?
Yes.
Senator Quesada?
Yes.
Senator Seveny? You said yes.
Madam Chair, we have 8 in the affirmative.
Thank you so much, Senator Filak, for coming to the
Thank you very
Education
much.
Committee.
Have a great evening.
And this concludes our agenda for today. Do we have a motion in place to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Senator De Palma, seconded by Senator Quesada. Thank you so much, everybody. And can we just say have a good night and thank you for your time today. We are adjourning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.